All right.
Weird Realities Network presents Blondes, Books, and Campfire Tales, where we pull up a log, roast a marshmallow, and settle in as these two blondes talk spooky tales, urban legends, and classic horror icons. Exciting guests, perky blondes, and sinister tales makes this podcast as good as a double stack s'more. So let's join Bethany and Krystal as they gather around the campfire in Blondes, Books, and Campfire Tales.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Blondes, Books, and Campfire Tales. I'm Krystal. We've got Bethany with us, and our guest tonight is actually Bethany's brother, Rick.
Hi, hello. Didn't have s'mores, but I have cinnamon rolls.
I mean, I feel like that's campfire-ish, so I think that that's very good. Thank you for joining us. And tonight we are talking about The Shining and Dr. Sleep, the sequel. We're going to jump into books, movies, all versions, discuss all of it from one of our favorite horror authors. I think that's fair to say, at least for me and Bethany. I'm not sure about Rick. I'm not sure what type of stuff you normally read.
Sci-fi fantasy, which Stephen King fits into that. So
he does, yeah. We were actually discussing just a second ago, Bethany, that the first time you read The Shining was actually when we lived together, and you read my copy.
Yes, most of my Stephen King was like the actual books were introduced to me through Krystal because she had like all of Stephen King's books. So when we lived together, I was able to read it, which was super awesome. But before that, I'd only seen movies of stuff.
So had you seen the movie of The Shining before you read the book?
I did. But you know what? I actually saw the miniseries before I saw the Stanley Kubrick one. So okay. Yeah, so I saw the miniseries because I think it was on like USA or something.
Yeah, it was like, I don't know, one of the networks.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, it was one of those. So I remember watching that, and I remember like having to change the channel when mom and dad would come into the room, so they wouldn't know.
My experience with the miniseries was a little bit different because I'm pretty sure my family all watched it together.
That was more of a family Shining.
Well, I mean, it came out when we were teenagers, so
it did.
Yeah,
it did.
Well, that series.
The what?
So that series did, but not the movie.
Not the movie.
The movie came out when we were like babies.
Actually, before that, when did the movie come out?
I believe in the 80s, 84, 86, somewhere around there, probably.
Yeah, somewhere.
Oh yeah,
I think it was mid-80s.
Yeah. In my particular case, I watched part of it in silent film version without the sound because I was babysitting somebody at the time.
Oh gosh, was it me?
No. So yeah, it was back in the 80s then.
Gotcha.
So you just had to watch it with no sound. That would be interesting.
It was definitely different, and I didn't see all of it. It was definitely disjointed. So.
And back in the 80s, you didn't have like the option on your remote where you could turn on closed captioning, because now you could do that and you could still know what everybody was talking about.
Right.
What's up, Londa?
Oh, no.
Hey, Londa.
We got mom and dad on there. There we
Hi.
go. And Mike is on. What's up, Mike? Oh, Facebook wasn't showing it. Oh, then I found you on Facebook.
Oh, weird.
I was going to have another boring night.
Oh, no.
We're back, Mike. No, my back is doing good. So thank you guys for everyone who sent prayers and well wishes my way. Unfortunately, Krystal's feeling sick today.
Yeah, so I've got Sprite.
Yes.
Why is it that bubbles make your stomach feel better? I've never understood that, but it works.
I don't know. I think but it does. Like bubbles make you feel better for some reason, whether you're blowing them or drinking them. You know, they're fun.
I use it to actually help eat food because it's chomping away at it.
Yeah.
Like Langoliers.
Oh, like Pac-Man.
Or Langoliers.
Oh, the bubbles are chomping away at the stuff that's bad in my stomach.
Sure.
Yes.
That's a theory.
Mike says ginger ale. Mike, I agree with you. I still have, in fact, I have ginger ale in my fridge right now.
Yep,
I am a ginger ale aholic.
I usually have I don't drink much soda at all. I usually use it as a mixer. So I only ever buy these little teeny tiny ones. And I usually have like a few teeny tiny ones of both ginger ale and Sprite, but apparently I was out of ginger ale and I wasn't up going to the store. So
I go with ginger beer, and usually it's super strong. So that
ginger beer.
Ginger beer, yeah. Well, I mean,
okay.
Ginger ale beer, it's still brewed.
That's perfect.
I like it. See, I'm going to feel great by the end of this because of the laughter. Laughter's the best medicine.
It is. Along with a spoonful of sugar.
Yep. Which I'm sure there's more than a spoonful in here.
Probably.
That's actually amusing because there's been a lot of theories about Pennywise It and Mary Poppins being similar creatures.
Yes.
I've seen that.
Yeah, how they get their energy from the children that they interact with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but like Mary Poppins was like the good side and Pennywise was like the dark side. Like, because you always have to have that light and dark.
And in fact, there's some sort of discussion that they are aware of each other too.
Ooh, so they're like Obi-Wan and Anakin.
Gosh, I really want to see a movie that's a showdown of Mary Poppins and Pennywise.
Yeah.
I think that
would be really cool, actually.
That would be way better than Harry Potter.
Hey now. Don't be saying them fighting words. I like Mike. He says, I only have teeny bottles of liquor. And then he says Mary Poppins would kick the silly clown's butt.
I think she would. Mary Poppins totally would. I would love to see it.
Yeah, she has something in that bag. He just has whatever he has, but she's got everything. She'll just pull out like a 9mm and just shoot him.
Right? She's like, what do I have in this bag? Literally anything I can imagine.
Yep.
She'd be singing, he'd be dancing, you know.
It works. So anyway, on to our show.
Right.
The Shining.
Krystal, when were you introduced to it?
It's really hard for me to say. Probably around the time I was like 11 or 12. I really think that the first book that I read of Stephen King's was It. And then The Shining. Stole them both from my brother because that's what I did. And then I watched... I think earlier than that, because I think one day when I was homesick in like elementary school, but like later elementary school, like 4th or 5th grade, I think The Shining was on cable and I watched it. And then I read the book a few years later. I think that sounds more accurate.
So do you guys have a preference of Stanley Kubrick's Shining versus the miniseries?
Miniseries 100%.
I think they're both fun, but the fact that Stanley Kubrick's was so different, I don't even know if I'm saying his name right, but
I think
the fact that his was so different from the novel, that's what kind of ticked me off. I don't know if it's like the author side, but it's like, man, if you're going to take someone's idea and not even their idea, but the whole package, like you got the name, you got the characters, everything, and you're going to change so much of it. Like, you got to give props to the author. Like, you got to stay true to the story. So,
I mean, like, and to be fair to Stanley Kubrick's version, like some of the stuff that he changed and some of the stuff that he added has become iconic. Like the Grady sisters in the hallway going, "Come play with us, Danny." That's not in the book.
Yeah.
Like that scene. Like, yes, they're in there and there's stuff going on with like all that stuff, but like that iconic scene, not in the book.
Well, it's also like the first King movie to become that big.
Yes.
So I think that's also part of it. It's not so much his movie. I think it's the combination of Stanley Kubrick's movie with Stephen King's name and people kind of getting into Stephen King with Carrie and all that. And then that's like the first big bang of the movie. And kind of one of the first horror movies to have depth like that. You know, like a lot of the more horror movies were just slasher films. This was like a creepy, mental, supernatural horror movie
Yeah.
type thing.
Well, I don't know. I think because Carrie was before it. I think of
Carrie
Carrie
was.
more, but just because like that's what I'm thinking of, that doesn't mean that it was the bigger movie in the theater.
That's what I meant in terms of like box office, not in talent or anything like that. I just mean in box office where more people are more aware of it. And a lot of people, it's like their first horror movie that they watched.
Yeah.
So, or Stephen King, when they think of Stephen King, they think Shining or It. Like that's the two things that people think of.
Right.
And I think that part of that is that, you know, because Carrie was it was his first novel and it got made into a movie actually really quickly. So he wasn't really a known name when that was happening. And by the time The Shining came out in theaters, he was.
I remember
well known.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I remember reading his book on writing where he talked about that and how Carrie suddenly got picked up by the publisher. And he just remembered he was working like a couple jobs, or he was like a professor or something at the time. It was like 10 years ago I read the book. But he was a nobody. And they picked up Carrie and he was just like shocked. And he was like, I just sold my book. Like they want more, you know, type thing. And he was so in shock over it. So that's when he started doing like It and The Shining and all that. And then they just blew up.
Yeah.
Mike says that he saw the hotel overlook or at Colorado years back. He goes, I definitely see it being a creepy place, especially at night.
I
like that.
I've seen the hotel, the Stanley, which is where he wrote it and where the miniseries was filmed. And I'm pretty sure that's where they went back for Dr. Sleep, the movie.
In Dr. Sleep, the movie, they actually used 3 scenes from the original, well, from the Jack Nicholson version. And they recolored some of it.
That's why it looks different.
yeah, that long drive back with down to the yellow Volkswagen car and everything. It's the same actual shot, same scene. Yeah, and they just recolored it. Otherwise, the all the sets and everything between Dr. Sleep Overlook and the Jack Nicholson version were totally recreated, right down to the very detail and such. So, yeah.
I was just thinking more of like the exterior at the end of Dr. Sleep.
Oh,
No.
yeah.
Because the interior definitely very much, like with Dr. Sleep, the movie, they definitely very much played on Stanley Kubrick's imagery and everything. And I honestly, I guess I should have researched that, but I wasn't completely sure. I thought maybe they had recreated those scenes, but I mean, it makes sense that they would have just reused those scenes too and just like played with the color to make it match modern day.
Well, my background is more media arts and such. So looking at it from the media perspective, you have Stanley Kubrick, and he was meticulous and nefariously known to retake shots, somewhere upwards to 60 times and such. Scatman Carruthers, the guy who played the guy who basically told the kid about The Shining. He was crying at one point because he had to redo a scene over 60 times. And Kubrick was like that, even down to Shelley Duvall.
That's what I'm saying.
Her, and had everybody basically abuse her so that she would try to emote that. So, which isn't cool. I don't care.
Halloran, that was his name.
Yeah. Dick Halloran.
Yeah. But yeah, she was the 60 scenes. I didn't know it was that. I thought it was when she was going up the stairs and he was following her with the baseball, or she had the baseball bat.
Yeah, Shelley Duvall had to do a lot over and over and over again too.
And I think that kind of started some of the stuff where they were trying to find like stand up for people in movies so directors wouldn't do things like that.
Like,
I think that was one.
Treat people that horribly.
Yeah, like, hey, you know what? There's sometimes a line we don't want to cross it. So
during that time period, they were doing movies like that too.
Whatever
happened to Sweet Baby Jane or something like that?
Well, in the Twilight Zone movie, like Gemini.
Yeah.
So I think there was an episode that Weird Realities did or maybe we were going to do on movies and things that happened on set. Do you remember that, Krystal?
Yeah, because
did we do it or were we going to?
I think we did it. It was a Murders, Mysteries, and Mayhem back in June, I think. And it was so back in June.
Sorry if my light keeps changing.
We did talk about like with the Twilight Zone and the helicopter crash that happened.
Yeah. Just sorry if my light keeps changing. I have a window like right there.
Oh.
and it's right at the time of day where the sun is kind of going down, but it's not down. So I'm not quite like in the house lighting.
You're fine.
So if that's distracting, I'm sorry. I'm just like, I got this little box about this big of myself I can see. So I can't tell what's working.
It's a somewhat spooky feel, from somebody watch videos.
Go on Mr. Burns on everyone. What's up, Alan? Alan says, hey, y'all.
Hi,
Alan. Mike says, I read a book about the making of Wizard of Oz and all the crap it pulled on the actors in that movie. Yes. I mean, wasn't there a guy who hung himself too? That was in the original.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's real or if that's just a rumor.
I don't know.
I've heard that rumor since I was a little kid.
I thought that one was real and the 3 Men and a Baby was a rumor.
The 3 Men and a Baby was a cardboard cutout.
Right.
Yeah. No, it's not. It wasn't true, but it does look like it. So.
Gotcha.
But getting back to The Shining, did you know there's actually a Shining opera?
Huh.
Bethany, the look on your face. You're just like, what? Back in 2016, I believe it was an opera company in, I lost my notes. I'm sorry. In Michigan or Montana. I'll find it again really quick.
One of those M
but
places.
They did one of those M states that's far north. They wrote their own opera of The Shining, and they had, Stephen King reviewed it. Apparently he loved it. Like before they because he had to they had to make sure it was okay with him before they were able to do it. And it ran for a few weeks, I think, and I don't think they've done it since. But I was just like, that's actually that's kind of cool. I knew about Carrie the musical, but I had no idea there was an opera of The Shining.
Opera's a whole nother beast.
It really is.
Musical. You can turn anything into a musical, but an opera,
Phantom of the Overlook.
There's a lot of them.
Mike says they also made Judy Garland take drugs to lose weight because they told her she was fat. Yeah.
I mean, that was every female actress of that time, unfortunately. They literally controlled female actresses' lives down to when they could have kids.
Yeah.
It was horrible. I want to make that clear. It's horrible, but it was not uncommon.
Mm-hmm. Well, even now you see a woman gets pregnant and they have to write in, when you start seeing someone walk around on screen holding a flower vase. Mm-hmm. And then she's holding a pillow or some towels.
Yeah, she's just always holding something in front of her stomach.
Holding something, or it's always filmed from here up. That's it.
Yep. A lot of extreme close-ups. Just
okay. Minnesota. It was St. Paul, Minnesota.
Oh, okay.
That did the opera
The
Shining. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Back in 2016.
So Londa has not seen Dr. Sleep, but she loves The Shining.
Yeah.
So
I've seen it. I actually watched it a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah. You know what? Dr. Sleep I enjoyed more than The Shining.
Well, yeah. And then the director for that one, oh man, the name escapes me for the moment. He actually did a very good job of basically serving two masters. He married the Jack Nicholson, Stanley Kubrick movie with, Stephen King's book, and made, because in the end of The Shining, for those who haven't seen it, sorry, spoiler, Deeds, the guy we were just talking about, the Scatman Crothers character, movie, he gets killed, but in the book, he doesn't. And so they were kind of curious how that was going to, because he's actually in the beginning of Doctor Sleep.
Mm-hmm.
And so.
But he's a ghost. It's like
that's how
like a dream.
In the book, he's not. In the book, Doctor Sleep, he's not. But in the movie, Doctor Sleep, he's seen as a ghost. Because they did keep, since they had the imagery and the scenes from Kubrick's version, they did keep like the things going along. So the Overlook, this is something I wanted to talk about actually, but I mean, we'll get to it. But the Overlook is still standing in Doctor Sleep, the movie, and in the book, it's a campground. And, but they're like, oh, the way they play it off in the movie, it's like basically it shut down after what happened. But I'm like, no, that's not, like, that irritates me. I do like the movie, but that irritates me because I'm like, the Overlook in and of itself is a character.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no way it would have let itself be shut down after what happened with Jack and Danny and Wendy. Like with Grady, similar thing happened. It kept going. And it would have kept going. They would have figured something out. They would have figured something else out. They would have been like, either we need to get a better boiler and just not have to worry about a caretaker, or it's only single people from now on.
Well, except that goes against the whole point of it, because, you know, there's always been a caretaker, you know, that was actually phrased in there.
Yeah.
And that was obviously the Jack Nicholson character at the end. But even before then, you know, he was talking about that from the previous caretaker, you know, had stated that, you know, you've always been the caretaker, you know, and you're right. It is, the Overlook Hotel is its own character. And it was referenced in Doctor Sleep because that's why they were going there, because the character of the Overlook would be the ultimate weapon to take out, you know, the Hat Lady.
But I mean, whether like whatever they would have done with it, if the building hadn't been destroyed, it would have kept going on as the Overlook. Like, there's no way it would have just been allowed to be dilapidated like that. So that I was kind of like, that doesn't match the character of the hotel. The fact that it's sitting there abandoned for 30 years.
Maybe just asleep, waiting.
Hibernating?
Maybe. I don't know. I mean, I do like the movie and I do like the book. That was just, and I understood what they were doing, but I'm just like, no, the hotel would have still been a hotel. But then with the campground, it's like, I think it was like off campground season or whatever when they got there. But like with the campground, it was still able to do its stuff. I don't know. That's just my personal.
Was it a campground? I thought.
In the book?
For Dr. Sleep?
Yeah. Yeah, where the Overlook had turned into a campground. And it had a few buildings on it, like lodges.
Well, okay. It had some buildings. Okay, because I remember reading stuff about some of the buildings. That's why it threw me off.
Okay.
There were buildings, but it wasn't a hotel. It was more of a campground.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because the ghosts that he had pent up in his head, you know, locked away, he let them loose. But he kind of shut her in with them. So that's where I got confused. Yeah. So, Londa, just not to
spoil sorry, Londa, that's a lot of spoilers for Dr. Sleep.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're watching the episode. I'm sorry, Londa. But just kind of like what I liked about Dr. Sleep, and I'm just going to come right out. I love Dr. Sleep way more than The Shining. Either version.
Like books too?
Yes.
Okay.
Like, but I hold on. Londa, doesn't matter. Sorry, Londa. But no, I don't know why Dr. Sleep, like The Shining, I kind of got bored watching the movie. The miniseries I thought was interesting, mostly because the creatures, like the maze creatures, came alive, and I thought that was cool.
That is cool.
Yeah, so I thought that was cool.
That's from the book. There is no hedge maze.
Yes,
in the book, but there are the hedge creatures.
Yes, and those I liked, but I like monsters and creatures, so that's why. But
I think they're scarier than a maze.
Yeah, definitely. But Dr. Sleep, I think, because it kind of it wasn't so much like a mental thing that The Shining kind of built up, Dr. Sleep had a real monster, like real characters who were
Mhm.
actively trying
Right.
to kill.
Yeah.
And so and Rose the Hat, I just freaking loved her, man.
She's a really cool character.
She was so cool in the book and the movie. And I feel the movie was very, very true to the book. It
Well,
was very close.
yeah, and they try to preserve the essence of everything,
Mhm.
literally the essence of everything, um, down to the characterization of each of the characters that were in there. Because obviously, some of the characters are no longer alive, and some of them are, have grown up. So
Right.
it wasn't obviously that that actor, and it wasn't just copying the actor or their moves or speech patterns, but the essence of that actor, the
Yeah.
essence of that character itself that was
Mhm.
preserved. So yeah, even then.
Well, I think like one thing like with The Shining, and you kind of said that like in a way, Bethany, like it's a slow burn. It starts off with like mental stuff like, oh, is this stuff really happening, or am I just imagining things? It's just pictures in a book, like, and it's just like, so it's just a slow burn that builds up and builds up over time into this huge thing. But with Dr. Sleep, it's just everything's happening right away.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
it's just
Well, and
It's
Dr. Sleep
audience.
kind of, huh?
It's a different time and a different audience too.
Mhm.
Our
Yes,
expectations have definitely changed from then.
exactly. And with so Londa, just to sum up just a little bit, so you kind of have an idea. I figure you'll watch this or you won't watch it, you won't care. But just so you know what we're talking about, Dr. Sleep is basically Danny grown up. He's an alcoholic, and he basically finds solace in this small town that's actually just like an hour away from the Overlook. Do you guys remember?
No, it's on the East Coast.
Yeah.
I thought it was like further away from the Overlook because he could
No, it's
drive
like
there.
it's like maybe not Maine, but up near Maine, Vermont,
Okay.
maybe.
Well, anyway, he's in
It's
this
like
small
New
town.
England. Yeah.
Yeah, and he goes to AA and he lives there for a while. But he actually makes contact with this girl who basically has the shining, also the shine, much more powerful than him, like powerful than anything ever. And he finds out there's other kids out there who had this, and there's this group of travelers that go around are almost vampiric because
They're like soul vampires.
they're like what?
Soul vampires.
Yeah, yeah,
Not-
like Rikki said, like
taking
their
from your soul.
yeah, like their essence pretty much.
Mhm.
And they survive off that, and they're like a gypsy group that goes around in campgrounds and all this stuff, and they have RVs, and they just go around and they just basically find kids with the shining, and they can suck it up, and that's how they survive for so long. And then as it gets later on, in the years, they're running out of finding. They keep calling it the big whale. They're trying to find the big whale, you know. And if they had found Danny at the time, he would have been a big whale, but he stayed under the radar. But this girl, oh, what was her name?
Abra.
Abra. Yeah,
Right.
because I always think abracadabra.
Yeah.
So Abra, she is just the biggest shine of all. Like nobody has ever seen how big of a shine she is. And she can see the stuff that they do to these other kids, like the baseball boy. And we'll revisit the baseball boy. But she sees the stuff that these vampire people are doing to these kids. And so basically she makes contact with Danny, and then her and Danny basically team up to take down this group of vampire people. And of course, the major thing happens at the end of, over where, like Krystal was talking about, the campground / buildings of where the Overlook used to stand.
Yeah.
So I love Dr. Sleep.
I really did enjoy both the movie and the book of Dr. Sleep. And yeah, I definitely recommend watching Atlanta. It's really good. It's definitely enjoyable. In the movie, there's a scene between Abra and Danny where he's like, why people are going to think it's weird that I'm talking to a teenager. She's like, oh, we'll just say you're my uncle. And they don't really go into it more than that. But in the book, it's actually confirmed that apparently Jack Torrance wasn't always the most faithful man, and he had another child.
Mhm.
And Abra is actually, and they figure it out in the book. Abra is actually Danny's niece. So it's like a family thing that they have this really good shining, but I do think hers is stronger than his.
Oh,
in the
yeah.
movies, at least you can see, or the movie, at least you can see that his deterioration of morality at the very beginning, and that's part of the theme is to build it back up. Yeah. Indy?
Sorry.
I'm like, hi, Indy.
Indy had to make his appearance, guys. Sorry.
Halo's
I
a
bought a toy to distract him, but it's not working. Sorry.
I'm just
Like
glad.
all
that
is
he's not
right
trying to-
there. Just,
What's
she's
that?
just saying.
Oh, where's Halo at, Rick?
She's asleep. I'm glad she's not. Otherwise, she'd be yowling for attention in the bathroom trying to get water. So
Okay, so you were saying
that his morality had deteriorated, and that's part of the thing, and that's why his character, resolves itself through Abra's character, as a result of that. And then in the movie, at least, he takes over the place of Deeds or
Halloran?
Huh?
Halloran?
Yes. The Scatman Crothers character. That's all I can remember is the actor name.
Scatman.
He takes over as the Obi-Wan, essentially. So
yeah. And I think he was like, because his character goes through like a lot in Dr. Sleep, and it's from like absolute rock bottom is really where Dr. Sleep starts, and it becomes a redemption story for him. Yeah. So he was able to get the redemption his father never was able to.
Yeah, he did battle like those inner demons right there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, and before that, then, so you had The Shining, which was written when Stephen King was battling with, alcoholism, and then Dr. Sleep when he had already, gotten past that, and so it is, his story on that as well, or at least his influences that are in there.
Well, the beginning he wasn't past it; he was still dealing with it. To revisit that, Mike. He goes, is Dr. Sleep a movie or a TV show or what? So they actually made a movie, but it was a book. So it was actually a separate book that came out that Stephen King did. And then they made a book on it. But they do have it on audiobook as well. And I like that because Will Patton reads it. And I freaking love Will Patton. So if you guys know who he is, it's awesome. And what? So what is the spinning? I don't know what you're saying.
Is he talking about your text that you just sent?
Well, I sent a text to you guys.
Oh.
Well, no, I just sent you guys a picture because there's a really cool. Well, I can't turn the camera now because it's gone.
Right.
But there was a really cool view that I had outside my window just now, which is for you guys, and I'm sure anybody watching this has no clue what I'm talking about.
Come on.
I don't know if I can show this. I was going to try and share my screen, but I don't know how to do that. Let me see. I don't know. Can you guys see that?
Oh, lift it up. There you go.
There you go.
Arizona sunset.
Yeah, that's the view outside my window right now. That's why I was like, click.
Nice.
It was really pretty. Yes, so it's a movie if you want to watch it, plus audiobook. And oh my God.
What is The Shining?
Oh my word.
Okay, so what The Shining is in and of itself is it's not exactly ESP. I'm just going to let you two laugh and I'll talk.
Sorry.
But it is the ability to see things. Like with Abra, she's able to see things that are going on, and she and Danny actually are able to communicate just through their minds. And that is actually something that Danny is able to do with Halloran as well. Like they can talk to each other without actually talking, and they can see. It's kind of like being psychic, but it's just, I think it's like it's not necessarily predicting the future, but it's seeing things that are happening, seeing things that have happened.
You can also see the ghosts.
Astral projection, all of that. It actually pervades a lot of Stephen King's novels. It goes through the Dark Towers, through what? Yeah. Before, pretty much.
Of course.
I love Dad so much.
But it is featured in different things, and back to the theory idea is that's what was used against Pennywise, and
It was, yeah.
And in fact, that character, the Scatman Crothers character, what's his name?
Halloran.
Dick Halloran.
Thank you. He has a different name, but he's in that it as well as a different character there.
Yeah.
In which version of it? In the 1991 one?
I believe so. Yes.
Who was he in that?
He was one of the survivor, or the only survivor from the burned down club in Derry.
Oh, okay.
And,
with Mike.
Yeah, and I forgot what he has some sort of line that he states that basically shows that he knew about, or it basically showed that he had the Shining in there as well.
Okay.
So, yeah, the Dark Tower series, there's a novel, even the Gun.
The Lone Gun.
The Gunslinger?
Yeah.
Oh, Gunslinger. Sorry, Lone Gunman was
there's this pervading, magic, Shining, and in one of them, Carrie, I think, or one of them, they talk about how, no, The Stand, Grandma, what's her face?
Mother Abigail.
Yeah, she says that there's a shining light in all of us, which was actually mirrored in Dr. Sleep. Where they talk about how there's a little bit of shining in everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's got the shine.
Yes.
Everybody's got it a little bit.
Yep.
That's how
Everybody
sometimes
has a
you get
little
the right
light
lotto
in them.
number.
Yep. So the Force probably is a little bit more apt than. That's actually a really good.
I like Mike Vulcan logic.
No, I do that for sure.
Okay.
He's persistent tonight.
And as soon as I put him down, he puts his claws up on my hips. I'm like, Jiminy Cat. I said you're fine. Go play.
I think Olive doesn't need attention right now because we've been in bed cuddling all day.
If you shave your head and wax it, your head will shine.
Nice.
Truth.
Of course, is in all things. You know what? I feel like Indy is in all things right now. You punk.
He's like, I am the Shining.
Seriously. He's like, I'm trying to talk to you telepathically, you stupid human.
If you're not listening.
He's all, change my litter box.
I was in Pet Cemetery.
Oh my God. Oh man.
Oh my goodness. Speaking of Pet Cemetery, did you hear they're doing a prequel?
Yeah, I saw that. I don't know what to think of it. I'm still waiting for the Wendigo to show up in something.
Right?
Ugh, hasn't showed up in any of it. You hear it in some of it, but
yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but it hasn't actually been there. But yeah, I saw that and I was like, oh, I'm really not sure how I feel. But I probably will watch it to find out.
Yeah, I'll still watch it.
Dreamcatcher is another one that has a lot of ties for Dr. Smith. Dr. Smith. Wow. Oh my word. To Dr. Sleep. Especially
Mike.
Sorry.
I'm just gonna say, Mike, they're on prescription food. I can't give him salmon. That's all I'm gonna say. Continue, Rick.
So in Dreamcatcher, part of the point of that is that they can. One of the guys, his power, is basically to do what Dr. Sleep does.
Mm-hmm.
And what Abra does.
He can find stuff.
Yeah,
that's what it is, right? He can find
things.
It's been a while since I read that one.
Sections of his brain, the whole rooms and the files and stuff, and the boxes. So that's all in there as well. So there's a lot of what is really cool is when you can find a way to world build and you use that as a common theme across the board for a lot of your writing, then at least there's consistency. And that plays really well with your target audience. Whoops.
Bethany, are you alive?
Sorry.
Apparently, I was so boring. Your computer fell asleep.
I'm coming back. Can you see me? Can you hear me? Hi.
Yes, we can.
You know what? This little punk has done this before on another podcast. Leave.
They're like, okay, Rick needs to stop talking.
Oh my gosh. Sorry,
But
Rick.
that is something that Stephen King's really good about, is like things leak over from, like, it'll be like the main focus of one book, like, you know, like The Shining and Dr. Sleep, and the same thing with It and Pennywise, because that, you know, Pennywise shows up in places, and then Randall Flagg he shows up all over the place.
He's like everywhere.
He's everywhere. He's definitely but he's really good about, like, it leaks over and it always makes sense, and it doesn't seem out of place. And I do think that that's one of the things that he's known for, and not a lot of people can do that very well, and definitely not to the level that he does it, I don't think.
Yeah, because unless you are an avid Stephen King reader, you're not going to catch those Easter eggs. Kind of like they always reference Derry in a lot of stuff. And then even in Under the Dome, they reference some people who were in Derry, Needful Things. One of the guys who went and visited Derry, Cujo, he always talks about, like, oh yeah, that one town over where the dog killed people.
Yep, Cujo gets brought up.
Yeah.
Sure. Poor Cujo.
Dude, freaking Stephen King and dogs. I don't know what the heck is up with him and dogs.
Why do you hate dogs so much?
Seriously.
I would really like to know. If I ever had a chance to talk to him, I'd be like, I just really want to know, were you ever attacked by a dog? Like, what?
I know.
Why do you hate them?
I remember, Krystal, you were reading or listening to Mr. Mercedes, and you were like, they're talking about the dog. I was like, no. The dog's okay in this one. Trust me.
And it's horrible, because I was so happy that the way that was being meant to kill the dog killed somebody else instead. And I was like, the dog's okay.
I will never forgive Mr. King with Ryder in Needful Things. That through my heart. I can't do that. I'm like, bad man right there. Mike says that I like Stephen King horror books, but not so much thriller books. Yeah. I mean, there's different, he writes for a wide audience.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was in a discussion online recently, and people were talking about Stephen King books, and somebody was like, I never really read any of his books because I'm not into horror. And they're like, but then I read Fairy Tale, which is more fantasy. And they're like,
Hearts of Atlantis. Isn't that Stephen King too?
Yep. Yeah. And Eye of the Dragon's very much fantasy as well, if you've ever read that one.
Green Mile.
Yeah.
Is Stephen King.
Yeah.
Bye, Rick.
So
take one of his cinnamon rolls.
I also got this.
Oh yeah.
Kind of an anthology, actually.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I have that one too.
And I thought,
I don't know where it's at.
Oh gosh, what is it? Oh my gosh, it's a recent one. Oh my gosh. Why can't I think of what it's called?
We're just all waiting on you. It's fine.
I know, it's fine. There's Revival. That one's that one's kind of fantasy too.
Yeah, Green Mile, not so much. Misery was kind of tough. Dolores Claiborne, I got bored.
I liked Dolores Claiborne. And I think because it was like personal. Like like if you've ever been through anything like that, like I think Dolores Claiborne hits you personally. There
was a movie, Into the Storm or Eye of the Storm. It was a made-for-TV
Storm
movie.
of the Century?
Yes, Storm of the Century. And they referenced Dolores in that one. I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
That's actually why I read it, was because I was like, oh, I bet that's a book.
I bet that's a book.
I was like, hey, that sounds like something you should pay attention to. Like they were very it was just blatant. Like I swear, if the actor just looked right at the camera and was like, read the book, I'm like, okay. So,
like, okay, I'll read that one then.
Yes, Mike, The Stand is one of Stephen King's as well.
Oh, and that spells moon.
Oh my gosh. I remember when I first read The Stand, my roommate at the time had actually given it to me as a gift, either for birthday or Christmas. I don't know. But that thing is like over 1,000 pages, so thick. And it was like the unabridged version. So like everything was in it. And the first 100 pages is just people dying. And Stephen King, being Stephen King, he's like, here's this whole backstory of this person. Now here's their gruesome death. Like,
yeah.
And I was like, is this ever going to end? Is there ever going to be anything else in this book? But that's like 1/10 of the book. So yeah, like obviously a lot more happened.
George R. R. Martin had nothing on him.
Dude.
In either writing or death.
The fact that HBO was like, you know what, George, we're just gonna let you do your thing. We're just gonna take it from here. Like, we're good.
I mean, they couldn't wait on him any longer. They had surpassed where he was in the series.
Creepy.
Stephen King does Mad Max. Anyway.
Exactly. But you know what? If you take a lot of Stephen King books and take out all the description, you would have like a third of the book.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie. There's some Stephen King parts that I just kind of flip through a couple pages because I can only hear so much of description of the small town or whatever.
Especially in audiobooks. Are you playing are you flipping a toy back and forth?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm trying to keep Indy from knocking my thing down again. So I have this little toy. So I'm kind of
like, if I can distract him with this.
I'm really trying to distract this cat right now because he's just being a little pain. Mike says, I could not get into Game of Thrones books or movies. I don't like when they change the name of every little thing in the world, including grass, trees, animals.
Yeah.
So you're not a big fan of Lord of the Rings. Gotcha.
No, well, again, slightly different. So I actually have a book on writing about that for sci-fi fantasy and such that talks about how, again, consistency is going to be key. So if you define something in such a way that people, as the audience, are learning along with the protagonist. So here is Halo. She just now jumped up to try to get my...
What's up, Halo?
Aww.
Okay. Anyway.
I love that we all have cats.
We do, and we're talking about the dogs dying. So, consistency is key. And if you describe something in such a way or build it so that the audience learns about it as well, it tends to work. But yeah, you're right. If you're just changing everything for the sake of this is my world and here I define everything, but the audience doesn't know it, then it's not going to flow as well. And I agree, it wouldn't work. This
was more Middle Earth. They still have same name for things.
Yeah, but if you're calling a tree like an kerfuffle or something, like, and not explaining what the kerfuffle is, like, I don't know why kerfuffle. It's just the word that came out. Okay,
you're good. Makes me want to have a falafel now, but
like, no, I agree. It's like, why does everything have to be something different? Like,
yeah,
I don't know, because I don't want to work hard to understand what I'm reading.
Yeah,
that's the point of escaping into a book. You don't want to be thinking about that.
Yeah,
right.
Like, it's fine if a book makes me think, but not because I'm trying to figure out what's going on.
Yeah, if I need to reference the map multiple times.
Yeah, no.
Having a map is nice, but referencing it so many times just to figure out what's happening.
Yeah, because if you don't understand the map, you don't understand what's going on.
Exactly.
Agarest Girls did Tarzan. And in one of those books, you learn to speak this other language because it slowly builds and it keeps referencing that same word over and over as you are reading. So by the end of the book, you're reading some of these other words in this other language and fully comprehending.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
See, that's fine. That's totally fine.
That's kind of like Harry Potter almost. Like a lot of stuff you don't understand, but then you start talking about little Harry Potter words, and then by the end of the books, you're like, oh yeah, I totally know what that is.
But that cheats a little because they use, faux Latin.
Yeah.
It sounds plausible, but it's obviously...
Okay, let me have my dumbed down version of magic, okay? Let me just have it. Speaking of that, look at You can call an animal that draws a carriage a horse-like creature and see what it is, but you can't call it a truffle that draws a billy wop and leave it at that.
Right.
Yes, exactly.
I love Mike.
Everybody wants a Billy Wop.
Exactly. Must have been whopped by Billy.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I mean, I know like Star Trek has like a whole other language, like Klingon, right? Is that Star Trek?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, Mark Okuda did actually.
And like, but it's not like you're necessarily expected to just randomly know what they're saying. And I know plenty of people can speak Klingon, but it's not because like, but it's not like it was forced on them.
Okay. Touche. Somebody forced Klingon on me. I'm just saying.
No.
That guy. And at the same time, he was having me help him learn Japanese for his college courses. And I was still trying to learn Spanish for my school. And I failed Spanish because I had to do a presentation and I busted out in Spanish, Japanese, and Klingon. So thank
You're
you, Rick.
trilingual.
But I didn't understand anything I said.
Exactly, Mike. Yeah, the technobabble, that's where I was going to go with that.
Yeah.
Literally in the script, it will say insert technobabble here. So
That's really, yeah.
So random funny story, because that's just what we do on the show.
Yep.
With
Rick into The Shining.
Oh, we go off on tangents all the time. I mean, you know us, Rick. You should know that.
Thank you. So we were at Walt Disney World with a trip, a family trip, and everybody was paired off except for Rick and I. We had both left our respected others at home, so we were paired together on everything. So we decided one night to just go out, and there was this guy that was just kind of funny that I was like, oh, he's kind of good looking. And Rick's like, yeah, but you know, like we weren't hitting on them at all, but we were just acknowledging that this other person was good looking. And it was just funny that I was kind of like, you know, I was talking to him a little bit. And then Rikki noticed something. Oh no, the guy noticed Rikki's jacket had a Klingon phrase on it. And then the guy started talking Klingon to Rick. And Rick started responding in Klingon. And I'm like, well, I lost. Like, there's no place else to go with this one. So, point for Rikki. And that is my story.
Sometimes if you can't speak Klingon, you just can't keep up.
Yeah.
At least the fighting chance. You have
I
more.
was royally confused. So anyway, back to The Shining.
We haven't even talked about the miniseries yet.
Like we kind of brought it up a little bit, but what do you want to say about the miniseries?
That it's way better than Kubrick.
It is so much better. One, because it's a mini series, so it could go into more depth, which was awesome.
It was able to stick closer to the book, but to me it just had a creepier overall feel though. Mm-hmm. Like I never felt creeped out during Kubrick's The Shining ever, even watching it at like 9 years old. Yeah, never once was I creeped out. Like even to this day, I watch the miniseries and just like the atmosphere of it and everything. It just has this whole creepy vibe the whole time, and so I think that's a big part of why I like it better, because it's just a creepier feel, and it doesn't need to be rated R to do that. It's just able to extend that creepiness.
Yeah. The beauty of miniseries is the fact that you have a longer area to build your arc and story structure and characters and everything. So as opposed to a 2-hour movie.
Yes.
Yeah, you have like 6 hours to do it in. So yeah, you can go in, but I just think, because there's 2-hour long movies that I think have a creepy vibe, but it's just never really got to me in The Shining, and it's just with the Kubrick version. So yeah, they were able to keep more of the stuff in. Excuse me, sorry. And I do like that it was just more true to the book. And it did have one of the things that I do really like I mean, we mentioned earlier that like Jack never really gets his redemption, but he does for a few seconds in the book and in the miniseries, because he actually has like Danny's able to break through to him and be like, Dad, like, this isn't you. I love you. And Jack realizes what he's doing, and he actually makes sure that they get out. And then he goes and he blows up the boiler and blows up the Overlook. So, you know, like the fact that he did get that little bit of redemption in the miniseries that he didn't get in the Kubrick version. I'm sorry, dying in, like, freezing to death in a maze, not that great of a death.
No, but in the Kubrick version, there is a scene where Jack Nicholson's character just kind of, he's dreaming, or he had just woken up and he's talking to Shelley Duvall's character. I don't know why, but I tend to remember the actor names instead of the actual character names. That's kind of weird. But he's talking to her, and he's all distraught over the fact that he had this dream in which he killed her and their son, you know, and that is his lucidity moment. But then, you know, from there it goes on.
Yeah.
You know what I like was in Dr. Sleep, when he was finally older than his dad. He was older than his dad, and he had a sobriety coin. And he was like, my dad, he's like, he came home with some of these and never got to where I'm at right now. And he's like, and he'll never be at the age that I'm at now. And I feel like that was like Danny's almost road to redemption, like the beginning to his redemption. Like he was able to put his father behind him and start his road to redemption, because that's kind of where he started with Abra on stuff. And I feel like if Abra had reached out to him before that, he wouldn't have done anything. But the fact that he was finally able to put his father past him, that he was able to help her out.
Like, he doesn't have to live his father's life anymore because he's further in life than his father ever was.
Yeah.
And I think like anybody that has had like a parent or like somebody else, some like big person in their life die young, you do get to a point when you're like older than them and they were always this big thing in your life, and it's just like, oh, I'm past any stage in life that they ever were. And it's like a really weird feeling. It's because I've definitely experienced that. It's really weird. It's like, oh, this is never something that they got a chance to do. Like, and so like when you're looking at how similar him and his father were up until that point, because they both were alcoholics and hitting rock bottom and all that, it's like, I do think, you know, it's like, oh, well, I'm not following his path anymore because there is no path at this point.
Yeah. I do think Danny had a lot more guilt episodes than Jack or Johnny, because that whole scene at the beginning, if you think of it, Johnny only had his family to torture.
Yeah.
So Jack had every person he encountered plus himself to torture. And the person that stuck with him, that got him to go to that small town, was that woman who he stayed the night with at the beginning of the book. And it was the 3-year-old kid that he woke up to, and he left the 3-year-old kid there, and he took her money. And because of that, he had the visions of their death. He's like, basically by him doing that, they died. You know, the mother, did
they both die in the book too?
I think, yeah.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure, because the mother OD'd, so she didn't wake up, and then he left the kid there and took the money.
Yeah.
And just left. And that was just so traumatic for him that kind of started him to just flee and get away and go out to that small town.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, Jack definitely had some more torment over guilt-ridden episodes than Johnny, I think.
You mean Danny had more guilt-ridden episodes?
Yeah, Danny. Then yeah, you know what? The actors and the characters.
Sorry.
I like this conversation between Mike and Londa that's kind of going on.
Yeah.
Can you guys see that?
I know because I'm on full screen.
Okay, so
I'm
Mike's
just seeing what you're seeing or
he
putting
says
up.
William Shatner was in Little Rock at the Comic-Con last week. Lines to get his autograph were 7 hours long. And Londa, I don't know if her wow was to Mike's comment or to what we were talking about. But she's like, Mike, there's not one living person on the planet I would wait in line that long for. Definitely not Shatner.
I mean, I'm with Londa on that one. Like, there's some people I would wait in line for, but I don't know about 7 hours.
You know what? I did wait in line for R.L. Stine for about 4 hours is when I waited for him.
I feel like 4 hours is fine.
Yeah.
But beyond that is maybe pushing it. Well, it's for Dr. Sleep.
At least Mike, we got him convinced to go check out the movie.
Right? No, it's definitely a good movie, and yeah, the book is really good as well. So
Mike said he stood in line for 8 hours for the autograph of Dick Van Dyke. Touche. That man is a legend. And the two children from Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, he was already in his late 80s at the time. I don't really care about the kids, but Dick Van Dyke.
Yeah, Dick Van Dyke. I'm like, I have waited in some long lines, but I don't know if it's really long lines. You know, like when they actually used to do like the midnight screenings.
Don't worry about it.
Did you guys?
Yes.
Did you see him come in?
Yes. I almost waved.
I just saw a person behind me. Crap out of me. Don't do that.
That was my job.
He's all walk into my own house.
Right? He's like, you mean come home from work?
Gosh. That's scary.
But like we used to, like with the midnight screenings of movies, we'd be there like around like 5 or 6 in the afternoon, I feel like.
Yeah.
But you'd get there like really early.
Regarding Dick Van Dyke, my friends actually went. Yeah.
Londa's not my friend right now.
And get his autograph. And they had dressed up as the two characters from Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
What was the beginning part of that, Rick?
So a couple of my friends went to the Tucson Comic-Con. I'm sorry, the Phoenix Fan Fusion. And they saw Dick Van Dyke there as well. Got an autographed picture of him. And they had gone dressed as two of the characters from Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
Oh, nice.
Oh, that's cool.
They've been building a wall of certain autographs like that. Yes.
Halo.
Here, Halo. She'll be like that.
She's like, I want my food now.
She loves water. She is an aqua cat. She loves water. So she's currently in the bathtub where it echoes the most.
After the water.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, my cat Jack used to do that. He was obsessed with water. He would be like either in the bathtub or in the bathroom sink, just always asking, like, you're going to turn the water on, right? Right?
Mike says he never got Leonard Nimoy's autograph because his lines had 10,000 people in them. Or about 10 to 12 hours. That is insane.
Yeah, that's too much for me. Like, I'm not sure I'm anybody's super fan to that extent.
Maybe a line at Disneyland, but I said maybe a line at Disneyland, but no.
Yeah.
Like, is it a line where you can be like, okay, here's your place in line, and then they text you when it's your turn? I'd be fine with that. I'll wait 10 to 12 hours for that because then I get the text and I can be like, oh, it's time to go back. Like, and I can do other things during those 10 to 12 hours.
I'll be right back.
Mona.
Give me water now.
Exactly.
It'll be constant, so it's best if I just hold her.
It's okay. Well, we're kind of
She's
coming
like,
up.
No! Oh, cats.
Oh my goodness. She's all peace.
Our evil overlords.
So see, Krystal, it runs in my family to have your cats just hop in.
I mean, if Jack was still around, I feel like he'd be doing that too. But
yeah,
but just doesn't care.
Yeah.
She's like,
Eh.
She's purring though, so she's enjoying it.
Oh gosh, Harrison Ford's autograph was $1,000+ just to sign his name. Jiminy.
Wow.
like, come on.
No.
Why? Like, Harrison Ford, do you really need $1,000 for every autograph?
I feel like Londa watches our show just to see what animals are going to pop up half the time.
Right?
Because as soon as they do, Londa, you're always right there going, "Hi, kitty."
I mean, who doesn't want to see the kitty cats?
I know. Well, I feel like we at least talked maybe a half hour total on The Overlook and The Shining.
Yeah.
That's kind of how we run our show. That's the fun of a campfire, is you just kind of get together and talk about whatever you want.
Yeah, exactly.
And eat cinnamon rolls. Well, do you guys have any final comments or theories on The Shining or Dr. Sleep or anything?
Yeah. My thoughts are for those of you that haven't read or seen Dr. Sleep, definitely recommend it. If you haven't seen the miniseries, I think it's only available on DVD from what I was able to find. I found the DVD randomly one day in Walmart, so I have it. But if you get a chance, I would recommend watching the miniseries if you haven't seen it.
Mm-hmm. Rikki, anything?
No.
Yeah. That's my brother, folks.
Subvert expectations.
I know. And cross that name off the list. No, I don't really have too much. I think it's just kind of you don't have to see The Shining to watch Dr. Sleep, and Dr. Sleep is not going to be the same feel as The Shining. They're two completely different movies. They do have a tie-in, and it's kind of neat to see that, but you don't need to watch one or the other to get what's going on.
Yeah, like Dr. Sleep is technically classified as a sequel, but it's not a sequel where you won't understand what's going on if you haven't seen the original.
Exactly. Yeah.
Actually, there is something. You should look up the Shining scene that features Goofy and Donald.
What?
Yes. Definitely look it up. It is worth checking out. That's just
Bethany's like, I'll do this right now.
It is.
It's the staircase scene. And you've got, Jack.
Is this like Goofy and Donald reenacting the scene?
It's their voices over the characters of Jack Nicholson and Shelley Duvall.
Okay, I will be watching that.
It is great.
It's all I don't know if you can see that. Nope, it's too bright. The Shining, but it's Goofy and Donald, Goofy voiced by me.
Oh my goodness. Okay, yeah. I'll watch that.
So that's your homework, guys.
Also, if anybody finds out if there's like a video of the opera, let me know.
Mm-hmm.
I
like how Dad's I like Star Wars.
And now you know where I get that from.
And then Lana's like, I'm not going to pay for an autograph. I pay enough to watch the shows.
Yeah, no.
I agree. I'm sorry, especially somebody like Harrison Ford. I'm sorry. Like people like that, these people have so much money. Do you know how much money $1,000 is to me? It's a lot.
That's almost
especially
half my rent.
That's like a drop in the bucket for them.
Yeah.
And like that's people's rent.
Yeah.
Like people's car payments. Well, I don't know. I wouldn't want to have $1,000 car payment.
I was gonna say, what car do you have?
I know.
Tesla or something. I don't know.
A Tesla.
I'm like,
that's our other brother.
What's
Yes.
not
That's the one who has a job and family.
I don't know.
That's why he's not the waiter.
Krystal, I'm sorry, Rick and I totally.
We did. Sorry.
I'm fine. No, but
she's all, I'm fine.
We're horrible when we get together.
I know. Oh my gosh. This
like
is
I
why
haven't
we
been
should
around
get
the
family
TV
stuff
together before.
You should have seen us when our first works were published, and we went and watched Pride, Prejudice, and Zombies together. We were just lambasting the movie the entire time. We're also slightly inebriated while watching it.
Also sounds about right.
Yep.
Oh my gosh. Londa, Mike, we love you guys. Dad, we love you too.
I think one of the last movies that I ever saw in the theater with Bethany was, because we haven't seen a movie in theaters together in a long time, was The Notebook. And 30 seconds in, when he's still like rowing the thing, she says really loudly, "I'm bored." everybody in the theater looked. And I was like, it's 30 seconds in. Let's give it a chance.
That was my chance, man.
Brought to you by
This is why you don't take me to rom-coms.
Yeah.
I don't even know. Was that Marla's decision? Is that who we saw that way?
It could have been.
I'm like, I don't think that was either of our decisions.
I at the time that I was 20, I had a 40-year-old widowed roommate. So that right there just says it. But yeah, no, it was probably Marla. That was interesting because she was all into romance books. So her whole bookshelf was all romance novels. And mine right next to it was all horror novels. And sometimes we would read each other's and we'd just be like, no. And we'd like trade them back.
Like, yeah, this isn't for me.
Yeah. But we were good roommates.
Yeah.
So,
well, all right. Well, I need to get back to bed because
Krystal needs to go back to bed and get some chicken soup. Send her some well wishes, guys. She's not feeling the best.
I'm surprised that I've lasted in a vertical position for this long. Honestly, I love paranormal romance, Londa.
And the show goes on for another 10 minutes.
Oh my gosh!
He stops by.
If I read a romance book, it's paranormal.
Mine's screaming from the bathroom right now.
Oh my goodness. And then Mike's all chicken soup for the soul. Okay. Guys, we've lost control of the show.
It usually
it's done.
Anyway, I'm going to go back to sleep now.
Londa says thank you for showing up.
Oh, yeah, thank you. No, I think this was good for me, honestly. It's not super active. I just have to be vertical. So, yeah.
Well, we appreciate you joining.
Yeah.
Everyone, if you want to help out, Krystal does accept DoorDash. So, in the forms of soup and crackers.
Yes. I definitely accept DoorDash in the forms of soup and crackers.
And chocolate.
Mike's all, we never went down the Dr. Smith Lost in Space wormhole.
That'll be for another.
Sorry.
Oh my goodness.
Not Langoliers, Tommy Knockers. There you go. There's
yes.
Yeah. There's
Rick, you are obviously welcome back any other episodes. I know you have a very busy schedule, so whenever we can get you on, we'll definitely enjoy having you.
Well, thank you.
I know Krystal and I.
I was just saying thank you for joining.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. So thank you.
Our watchers kind of an insight into growing up with Rick and Bethany. And Krystal, you were actually there for most of it too.
I am the one she was referencing in previous episodes.
Yes.
Would terrorize her.
Pretty much. So Rick, you were mentioning about ways to watch the show.
Oh yeah.
So
yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So if anyone is watching this after we air it live, if you want to watch it live, we definitely welcome it. So you guys can interact and join with us. But you can always watch it live through Weird Realities podcast, or I'm sorry, Weird Realities Network, through their Twitter, the YouTube, and the Facebook. So those are the three that we always go live on.
And if you're subscribed, you'll get notifications that we're going live.
Exactly. And then Krystal and I, we were thinking of what we would do since this is kind of season 1, that we would kind of go through October, and our last show would be November 1st as a fun after Halloween special. And then we're wanting to do maybe like a holiday episode where we can talk about holiday episodes of shows that we like. So maybe like the holiday episodes of X-Files and Supernatural, Buffy, things like that. We just don't, huh?
Yeah, Krampus. Yeah, we'll have to throw Krampus in there.
Oh, yes. Okay. Yeah. So it's going to be Krampus plus episodes. So we just don't have a date on that yet, but we are going to take just a little hiatus. I know Krystal's going to do some traveling. We have some traveling, and we also have, I'm going to be moving end of November, and it's my busy season at work. So I know we're going to take a little bit of hiatus, and then we will definitely start back up in January, and we'll make some announcements for that. Lana says that Facebook notifications don't always work, but YouTube does. So
Good thing
Good
to know.
tidbit there. Yeah, I know Hadley wants us to try and switch over to another streaming platform. So during our hiatus, I'll try and play around with that, kind of figure it out. But yeah, so that's kind of the plans. So we'll be going through November 1st and then do like a holiday episode. And then we'll kind of pick up from there. But yeah, if you guys have any suggestions on episodes, what you guys want to see or watch, definitely let us know. We're always open to it. If you guys want to have Rikki on again, let us know. We'll invite him back, or any of our previous guests. Just let us know. I feel like it's like a reality show. Like, who do you want back on the show? Like,
No, I was voted off.
Exactly. Poor Rick. Wah, wah, wah. That would make for really awkward family get-togethers.
Yeah.
Hello, Bethany.
Bethany. Oh gosh. All right. Well, Krystal, do you have anything coming up with Mysteries, Murders, and Mayhem?
No. I've been working like 50 to 60 hours every week, so I really haven't had a chance to plan it. So please don't hate me, you guys.
Yeah.
We hired a new person who's she's been in training for months now, but actually starting working next month. And the hope is that should take some of my work off. So then I'll probably be able to get back into that. But right now I just have too much going on with work, unfortunately.
Okay. Well, yeah. I mean, that's not a problem. I mean, we have stuff going on with our lives. So
yeah,
you're good.
We do.
Rick, we normally do like a tell us about yourself, but I think we totally just kind of I was distracted. Krystal was doing stuff.
Yeah.
So hey, Rick, you want to tell us a little about yourself?
I think I've been featured in some of your earlier episodes. A lot of people probably already know a little bit about me. So that's probably enough.
You are an author.
What's that?
You are an author, though.
Yeah, I did write some stuff. Some things have been published, and I have a little bit more time now where I might actually get back into some more writing. So,
oh, nice.
I also write for the different campaigns that I run for the Dungeons and Dragons and such.
Oh, hey, that's pretty cool. Do you have anything you want to drop? Anything to advertise? Like any sites or groups or anything?
No.
No. Well, I know that Rikki and we've talked about maybe doing like a Halloween anthology or something.
Yes.
So that might be something that we may revisit. If you guys read any of my works or you read any of Rikki's works, I think you're in like Monsters Unleashed. Isn't that the volume 1? We found out. We thought you were volume 2, but you were actually volume 1 the whole time.
The wrong volume.
Exactly. But Rikki and I might be coming out, not this year, sorry guys, but probably, in the next couple of years, we'll be coming out with a joint anthology with that. So I think that'll be kind of fun. And yeah, so anytime you want to join us, just let us know. But that's about it for Blonde's Book and Campfire Tales. Thanks for joining us, talking about The Shining and Overlook for half an hour. Halo, Indy, and Olive say goodnight. They're all pretty hungry. So we are all going to go feed our cats.
Have a good night, everybody. Thanks for joining.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Bye, guys.